Okay, so let me ask you something. Have you ever stood in a queue at a store at 6 in the morning, in the cold, waiting for a shop to open, just to buy a pack of cardboard? No? Well, millions of people have. And not just teenagers. We're talking grown adults, doctors, engineers, celebrities, parents with kids, grandparents. All of them, absolutely losing their minds over small pieces of printed cardboard. And today I want to talk to you about why. Because trust me, once you understand the psychology behind it, you'll never look at a Pokémon card the same way again. Let's go back to 1996. A Japanese company called Game Freak, working under Nintendo, releases a video game called Pocket Monsters. It becomes a massive hit in Japan. Then in 1998, it lands in America as Pokémon, and the world just explodes. Kids are watching the cartoon, playing the game, and then Wizards of the Coast, the same company behind Magic, the Gathering, starts printing Pokémon cards. And within months, schools are banning them because kids are literally gambling their lunch money trading cards in the playground. Teachers are confiscating them. Parents are panicking. It was chaos. Beautiful, nostalgic chaos. But even back then, nobody fully understood why these cards had such a crazy grip on people. So let's break it down properly. The first thing you need to understand is something called the variable reward system. This is pure neuroscience. When you do something and you get a reward every single time, your brain gets used to it pretty fast and stops getting excited. But when the reward is unpredictable, when you don't know if you're going to get something good or not, your brain releases dopamine, which is basically your brain's happiness chemical, in much larger amounts. This is the exact same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. You pull the lever, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. That unpredictability is what keeps you hooked. Now apply that to a Pokémon pack. You pay around $4 to $5, you tear open the foil wrapper, and you have absolutely no idea what's inside. Maybe you get a common card worth nothing. Maybe you pull a holographic rare. Maybe, just maybe, you pull a PSA 10 Charizard worth $10,000. That uncertainty is not a bug in the system. It is the system. It is designed to keep you coming back. And speaking of Charizard, let me tell you about the most famous card in history. The 1999 First Edition Holographic Charizard. This card, when it came out, was just a rare card kids wanted because Charizard was cool. Fast forward to 2021. Logan Paul, the YouTuber, opens a First Edition Base Set box live on stream, pulls a Charizard, and gets it graded as a PSA 10, which means it's in perfect mint condition, no scratches, no bends, perfect centering, absolutely flawless. That single card sold for $369,000. For a piece of cardboard. A piece of cardboard that cost maybe 50 cents to print. Now, that's the extreme end, but it tells you something very powerful. These cards are not just cards anymore. They have become a financial asset class. Now here's where it gets really interesting from a psychology perspective. Human beings are wired to collect things. This goes back thousands of years. Our ancestors collected food, stored resources, gathered tools. The brain has a collecting instinct built into it. There's even a term for it in psychology called the endowment effect, which basically means the moment you own something, you value it more than its actual market price. So when you pull a rare card and you hold it in your hand, your brain immediately starts assigning emotional value to it. It becomes yours. And once something is yours, giving it up feels like a loss, even if you could sell it for 3 times what you paid for the pack. That emotional attachment is incredibly powerful, and the card companies know this very well. But let me tell you something that most people don't think about. A huge part of why these cards exploded in value in recent years has nothing to do with the game itself. It has everything to do with nostalgia. Think about it. The kids who were trading Pokémon cards in 1999 are now in their late 20s and 30s. They have jobs. They have disposable income. And suddenly, in 2020, when the entire world went into lockdown and everyone was stuck at home with nothing to do, these people started reliving their childhood. They went on YouTube, watched card opening videos, felt that old rush of excitement, and thought, you know what, I'm going to buy a pack. And then another. And then a whole box. The Pokémon Company reported a 300% increase in card sales during 2020 and 2021. 300%. Because millions of adults were essentially buying back their childhood. Nostalgia is one of the most powerful emotional forces in the human mind, and collectible cards are basically a time machine built out of cardboard. Now let's talk about the community, because this is something people genuinely underestimate. When you're into Pokémon cards, you instantly have something in common with millions of people around the world. You walk into a card shop, and there's a whole culture waiting for you. People are trading, debating, showing off their pulls, helping each other find cards they need. There's a whole grading culture, where you send your card to a company like PSA, Professional Sports Authenticator, or Beckett, and they examine it under a microscope, check every corner, every surface, every edge, and give it a score from 1 to 10. A 10 means the card is absolutely perfect. And a graded 10 can be worth 5, 10, sometimes 20 times more than an ungraded copy of the same card. This whole ecosystem of graders, sellers, collectors, content creators, tournament players, it's an entire world. And being part of a world, belonging to a community, is one of the deepest psychological needs a human being has. Now I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't talk about the dark side of all this, because there absolutely is one. The same variable reward system that makes opening packs exciting is the same system that drives gambling addiction. And many psychologists and researchers have argued, quite seriously, that selling randomized packs of cards to children is a form of gambling. You pay money, you get a random outcome, and the odds of getting something valuable are stacked heavily against you. In a standard Pokémon booster pack, the odds of pulling the rarest cards can be 1 in 30 packs, 1 in 70 packs, sometimes even lower. So if you're chasing a specific ultra rare, you might spend hundreds of dollars and never pull it. The card companies print odds on their packaging, but honestly, most people ignore them entirely because hope is a very powerful feeling. There's also a darker financial side. During the pandemic boom, scalpers and resellers were buying entire store stocks of cards and reselling them online for 3, 4, 5 times the retail price. Walmart and Target had to physically lock Pokémon cards behind glass cases and limit purchases to 1 box per customer because fights were breaking out in the card aisles. Yes, literal physical fights over Pokémon cards. A man in Florida was arrested for pepper spraying other customers during a card rush. The market got so inflated that cards that were worth $20 in early 2020 were selling for $200 by late 2020. And then, as markets do, it corrected. A lot of people who bought at the peak lost significant amounts of money when prices dropped back down. So if you're looking at cards purely as an investment, it's a very volatile, unpredictable market, more like buying cryptocurrency than buying index funds. But here's the thing. And this is the part one really want you to take away from all of this. For most people, the money is not actually the point. Yes, people love the idea that their hobby could make them rich. Yes, people love flexing their expensive cards. But what really drives people back to the hobby, what keeps a 40-year-old man tearing open packs at midnight, is the feeling. The sound of the foil wrapper. The smell of a fresh pack, and yes, there is actually a specific smell that collectors absolutely love. The moment of tension as you flip through the cards hoping to see something shiny. It's not rational. It doesn't have to be rational. It's joy. Pure, simple, childlike joy wrapped in cardboard. And in a world that is genuinely stressful and complicated and exhausting, sometimes people just need to tear open a pack of cards and let themselves feel like a kid again for 5 minutes. So the next time you see someone going crazy over cards, whether it's Pokémon, or Magic, The Gathering, or sports cards, or one-piece cards which are actually the hottest thing in the card market right now, don't just dismiss it as silly. Understand that what you're actually looking at is human psychology at work in one of its purest forms. Nostalgia. The thrill of chance. The joy of collecting. The need to belong. The hope of finding something rare and valuable. It's all in there, packed into a $4 foil wrapper. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful.